This is Sparta!
Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown studios at Santander Stadium. Talking York's home teams. Welcome to York College Spartan Sports Weekly on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Now, here are your hosts of Spartan Sports Weekly, Darrell Henry and Scott Guise.
Good afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Welcome into York College Spartan Sports Weekly. How are you, by the way? It would be polite if I would return the question.
I am doing fantastic. Had a great weekend, and here it is Monday. We're back to work. I'm a little sad though. Baseball's over, so
for the Windsor Spartans.
For the Windsor Spartans, we had a great weekend, but also Major League Baseball. I now have 159 days until the Indians open up at home against Boston. So
that's over too.
Yeah, I didn't even have a dog in the fight in the World Series, but I enjoyed. I love watching postseason baseball. It was a lot of fun. So kind of a little bummed out. The Browns not so good, and I don't really care about the NBA, so I'm kind of lost without a team for a while. So I'll be looking forward to spring training come February.
Well, tonight might be your night to care about the NBA because we are taking you up to Sixers basketball here on WOYK.
They're playing the Cavaliers.
They are playing the LeBron-led Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I joke around with my friends. I want the Cavs to do well because it's a Cleveland thing, but they're going to be the team that wins the championship first, and that's going to kind of, for me, it's going to be kind of anticlimactic. I'd much rather have the Indians. My first choice would be the Indians to win a World Series, and followed by the Browns winning the Super Bowl. I think we're kind of a long ways away from that, so I don't think I have to worry about that anytime soon.
People are feeling more and more sorry for you.
Not really. If the radio's still on, which thanks for sticking through that, they get to hear a lot better things in this week's show.
Well, we are back, though, start of a new week, and we are taking you up to the Sixers game tonight. But in the next hour, Scott, this is a busy time, and you mentioned it's the end of baseball season, but fortunately for you and me, we're kind of men of all seasons, and your college sports provides that for us.
It doesn't ever really end, does it?
No, but we have some very intriguing postseason play to talk about both last week and this week. This show is also our first one that's really heavy on the basketball preview material. Both the women's and men's teams. You'll have preview segments for us coming up later in the show as well. But this is an exciting week, is it not? With several of our teams in postseason action, and a couple of those contests having already been played over the weekend, and successfully, I might add.
Yeah, the first week of November always seems to be a great time in terms of the postseason, the Capital Athletic Conference Championships, and certainly this year is no different. Our teams have already gotten off to a good start. There were a bunch of games this weekend, field hockey with a victory, women's soccer with a victory, and men's soccer getting the first round bye. So we'll have 3 teams in action early this week with possibilities of heading to a championship situation this weekend. So it would be great to have happen, and certainly our fall teams have ended pretty strong.
Well, Scott, let's start with field hockey. Big win yesterday, opening round of the CAC tournament against St. Mary's, 3-0. Was it as dominating of a performance as the score would indicate?
It's interesting. It was a really weird stat game. We outshot them 7-3 in the first half, but it seemed like for the most of the half they had the play down in our end defensively, and we would prevent them from getting shots, but we would struggle to clear the ball. So we get a stop. We'd go to kick it out, and it'd go out of bounds, or they'd intercept it, and we just never seemed to get any kind of momentum going. And then towards the end of the half, freshman Paige Taylor took a pass from Beth Patrick and scored with about 5 minutes left in the half. So we were able to get on top 1-0, and then just completely dominated the second half. Played really well, was much sharper as a group, and really just played a really solid 35 minutes of hockey in the second half. They actually ended up out shooting St. Mary's 18-7, including 11-4 in the second half as the Spartans picked up the wing. Eve Hauptel earned the shutout as she had 2 saves, while Paige Taylor, Beth Patrick, and Allie Posey scored for the Spartans. That was Posey's 18th goal of the year as she continues to be one of the best players in the conference. So a really solid win especially considering these two teams played about 2 weeks ago, and York had to pull out a 2-1 victory where they scored late. So on to Mary Washington on Wednesday. Certainly a huge test that's going to be. Spartans have not fared well in Fredericksburg over the years, but I think the Spartans are ready for the challenge and ready to give everything they have to an Eagles team that's the top seed in the tournament.
Well, earlier today, Scott, you had a chance to catch up with Spartan field hockey head coach Carly Zinn coming off that big win yesterday.
After Sunday's 3-0 triumph over St. Mary's College in the CAC first-round game. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Seems like we got off to a little bit of a slow start yesterday, but really came out in the second half and played great by evidence of the 2 goals. What were the adjustments that you guys made at halftime to kind of kickstart that offense and get it going in the second half?
I think it started in our backfield, which is what generated our attack moving forward. We watched a lot of film with our previous game against St. Mary's. We talked about changes that we wanted to make from that game, and I think we fell into old habits in the first half, and at halftime we really focused on, what did we talk about this week, what did we practice this week, the way that we were changing our press, and the way that we were outletting to kind of defeat the press that they were putting on us. And the changes that we made were very helpful. One, dropping back because they are a big ball team, so we weren't putting as much pressure on them because they kind of just nail it up the field anyway. So we were hanging back farther, and my girls have, they've got great reactions. So staying back and just kind of defending the big ball that they use, and then a quick counter attack is something the biggest asset we have is our speed. So when we get that interception midfield, we're able to transition quickly and get up and generate the attack, which I think was the biggest change that we made. And also just utilizing our passing game with our speed, not dribbling up the field, but the ball will move quicker if you pass it. So again, that's something we talked about at halftime.
Heading to Mary Washington in the CAC semifinals, they were here during the regular season. It was a close game for the first half. They kind of broke it open in the second. But what are some of the things you're looking for out of that semifinal contest?
Again, the consistency of playing 2 halves. I think we have made a lot of changes. After that game, we made a lot of changes. So we're not making numerous changes going into the game, but since that first conference game, we have made adjustments, and we've had, another month to play games and use a different formation, a very more suitable for our team formation. I think that we have made adjustments since that game, kind of leading up to anticipation that we'll see them again, and kind of how to defend their style of play. They have a very quick pace, so it's been, crucial that we stay in shape. Sometimes during season you can get out of shape. So again, I feel like we have kind of been preparing for this since we had a very big loss to them. And I think that it will come down to just the mental game as well, and my girls are excited. They are really excited. And at this point in the season, you don't know if you're going to get excitement or if you're going to get it's been a long season. so yeah, we're on the up part of that. We are excited, and that's really the best that I can ask of them.
Obviously, being in the Final Four of the conference is meaningful. How important is it for this young team to continue to get that playoff experience and get those games that are a little bit different, in the playoffs, and get those games under the belt? How important is that, not only for this year, but moving forward?
It's kind of like what we talked about before, just them understanding what a conference game means, and the excitement that they're feeling now is showing me that they're starting to get it. The excitement that they felt yesterday, even the first time we beat St. Mary's, they didn't understand, this is a very big win. But yesterday, after the game, they were just, glowing with excitement. And I think them being able to now relate more to what the upperclassmen feel for those first round or for regular season CAC games, it's upping their excitement. And next year, it's not going to take the whole season for this, both sophomore and freshman class. I think the sophomores are also more excited because last year, on our best day playing against Salisbury, which is what we did the second round, we had high hopes, but we still, in our guts, we knew they are bigger and faster and stronger. And this year, we know that we can beat Mary Washington. And I think that is one thing that their passion is really fueled by the fact of, like, they are very optimistic, and they know that if they play together as a team, that we will come out on top.
All right, Coach, good luck this week. Hopefully next Monday we can talk about a conference championship.
Yes. All right. Thanks a lot.
Well, Scott, step one has been completed with the win yesterday, so now getting ready for the trip down there on Wednesday.
Well, it's going to be a tall task. Mary Washington, very good team. We struggled with them earlier in the year in the second half. However, I think one of the key things is this team is so young. One senior, two juniors, everybody else sophomore and freshman, and really most of the key players are younger. So I think it's a great growing experience to get a chance to go on the road and play a big-time opponent in a conference semifinal and give yourself the opportunity to, hopefully play for a championship. But, this is, it's interesting. This is the year where we weren't sneaking up on anybody. Everybody knew the talent that we had coming back along with some of the newcomers. So this is another step in the progression. Coach Hunter talks all the time about the process. And there is a process, and I think it's a little bit different for field hockey than it is for basketball, but it's that idea of continuing to compete. One of the things I think this team has to be a lot better at next year is being more consistent. Beating the teams you're supposed to beat, challenging the teams that are a little bit better than you, and not losing the opponents that aren't quite as good as you are. And they've struggled with that a little bit this year, but when they've been good, they've been really good. So, obviously they're going to have to be good on Wednesday at Mary Wash, but I think this team's capable of doing that. So we'll see what happens and see which team shows up. Anytime in the playoffs, it always seems like the games are a little bit closer, a little bit tighter played. So we'll be interested to see how they can do down in Fredericksburg.
All right, best of luck to the field hockey team on Wednesday. We will get into soccer coming up next. We've got both teams, the women and the men, in postseason play here this week, and we'll talk about that. In fact, a couple of big games coming up the next 2 days with the soccer teams. And we'll also rehash the cross-country championships from over the weekend. The Spartans fared very well there at the league meet. Wrestling had a chance to take on the Naval Academy this past weekend. And like we said, we'll finish the show with basketball previews as well. So just getting started here on this edition, our second of the year, in fact, here on York College Spartan Sports Weekly, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
Dateline more football. Let's go to Minnesota. Headline, Teddy Bridgewater says Madden helps him learn Vikings playbook. What?
Good God.
You mean John Madden?
The Steve Zabin Show on Yahoo Sports Radio.
Or the video game Madden? Oh, the video game Madden.
There's the old ball coach. He has that list of plays. We're talking about how many plays he has in the list and what the list. He said, it's just an old list of ball plays.
Yeah, Bridgewater says he has imported the entire Vikings playbook into the video game Madden and will be using it to get, quote, virtual reps.
That sounds like an Onion story. It can't be real.
But maybe the game is that accurate.
Really? The Steve Zabin Show.
Mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Mike check.
Dan Patrick.
He's Ben Roethlisberger. Heinz Ward told me that he would lie to stay on the field. So he said, look, it's our job to deceive to get back in there. Have you done it?
Yeah, I have. I think I did a lot more when I was younger. I think now with all the stuff coming out and all these players and the things that are happening, I think the awareness has been raised, the level has been raised, so I think it happens less frequently. But I think for the most part, players are taking it very serious when it's a pretty good bell ring.
Are you hit differently now than, say, first 2 years in the league?
In what ways? Like, are defenders hitting me different because of the rules?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I've always taken, it's good and it's bad. I think that officials have allowed play to kind of play on a little bit. I don't think their whistle's quite as quick with me.
I love it.
The Dan Patrick Show.
On Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
And that's going to do it. The York College Spartans are 2014 CAC champions.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York.
Back on York College Spartan Sports Weekly, Darrell Henry along with the splendid Spartan himself, Scott Guise. Is only Wayne allowed to use that, or can I?
Yeah, that's kind of a Saturday morning thing. I don't know that you can use that.
Yeah, it's just on the weekend for you. But the weekend was pretty good to the women's soccer team Saturday, Scott. At least once they got there. First of all, what happened there?
Scheduling issue with the bus. They thought the bus company thought the game was on Sunday.
So they didn't break down in the mountains.
No, thankfully no. It was just a scheduling issue. So once we got a bus, we were fine, and we're able to get to Frostburg safely and pick up a 2-0 victory in what was a pretty thrilling game. So they played really well. The team. You look at our schedule and you look at the record, and they're 7-10 overall. But a lot of the losses are close losses. 1-0 to Frostburg State, 2-1 to Mary Wash, 2-1 at Christopher Newport. The 3-0 at Salisbury, they kind of got tacked some stuff on late, but 2-1 to St. Mary's. So a bunch of their conference losses have all been close games. So you look at it overall and think, this team's not that far away. The big thing this year has been scoring, and it was kind of nice to get out to an early goal on Saturday. Maxine Herman scored in the 15th minute of the game to give the Spartans a 1-0 lead. And then Caitlin Rankin, who's a freshman who, along with her sister Alyssa, will also be playing lacrosse this year, got an insurance goal about a little over 5 minutes into the second half, and the Spartans kind of hung on from there. Both teams took 10 shots in the game. The Spartans had a 7-6 edge in shots on goal. Kate Ludy had the shutout. She made 5 saves, which also helped earn her the CAC Defensive Player of the Week for her efforts. So certainly the second time she's gotten it this year. She's had a really good year, and somebody who's is a first-year starter has really stepped up and played pretty well for the Spartans so far this year. So they head to St. Mary's on Tuesday for the CAC semifinals. The game against St. Mary's here was really close. It was an overtime game. Actually, that was last week as well. As St. Mary's scored in overtime to get that 2-1 win, as they are the second seed in the tournament. So it was a big win for York, and certainly something that can set them up going forward to have an opportunity to beat St. Mary's and earn a place in the CAC championship game.
Yeah, were they heavy underdogs in the game at Frostburg?
Well, I think anytime, yeah. I mean, you're playing in the 3-6 game. You've had the opportunity to play them once already at your place, and you lost, 1-0 in what was probably what was a good game. As I said, their conference record was 4-5 this year, but of those 5 losses, 4 of them were won by 1 goal. So. This team is not, like I said, it's not that far away. They're playing well right now. They've won 3 of their last 4 and 4 of their last 6. So they've been playing well late in the season. I think they have an opportunity to contend and an opportunity to go to St. Mary's and pick up a victory and advance to the CAC finals.
St. Mary's 2-0-1 all time in postseason play against York. I noticed.
And I remember that one was a penalty kick shootout.
Yeah.
One of the first years we were at the Grumbacher, and that was painful because that might have been one of Coach Turner's best teams. And that was Amanda Lomberg in goal, and we just kind of got unlucky. Had a couple opportunities to score and weren't able to convert. And that was a dynamic team. Ended up having the season ended a little earlier than what I think everybody thought would be that year. But, that actually preceded the year when we did go on the run and ended up going to the Sweet 16. So, that team was very talented. This team is so young. I'm not sure that this team has an identity yet. That team had an identity of, really good midfield play, strong forwards that finished, and just a stout defense. I don't know that this team has an identity yet. We're so young. We play we have 15 freshmen on the roster.
Wow.
It's hard to really know what this team's going to be in the next couple of years. You had 4 seniors this year, all who played pretty well for us, and but it's a very young team overall, and it'll be very interesting to see. We talked about field hockey getting the opportunity to have experience in the postseason, and certainly this is a great thing to be able to go on the road for this team, and then not only once, but have an opportunity to go on twice, maybe even more, and play a game. So it'll be. I think this is a great experience for this team right now.
I remember the PK game. I was a student. I was on PA that day, and I remember the women's basketball team was in that kind of skybox balcony behind the goal at the Grumbacher Center, like inside the building. So they were out on the balcony watching, cheering them on. I do. That was a tough one.
Oh, it was definitely
there's a little history between these two, though.
Yeah, no doubt. And it'll be very interesting to see. I think, the play between the two teams over the last couple of years has pretty much been back and forth. So the opportunity to go down there and get to have an opportunity to win, I think, is all you can ask for. And certainly, they're a very talented team who had a very good year, but they're very experienced. They're so much more experienced than we are. But you never know at the end of the year. Anything can happen, and I certainly think that the team will have an opportunity to pick up a win down there.
The overtime goal came from one of the conference's most prolific scorers in that regular season match last week. In soccer, when you have a player like that is so skilled, is there anything defensively you can do that can kind of take that one player out of it a little bit?
I think you try and guard them as closely as you can. And you try and stick one of your top defenders around that. But there's so many. It's so different than it is in basketball. It's such a smaller or such a larger space to have to defend. Teams can do things and switch formations a little bit and move some people around that can make them tough to defend. And at the end of the day, you just have to make sure you're continuing to mark that player and making their life as difficult as possible. But at our level, when you have really gifted goal scorers, 9 times out of 10 they find a way to get it done. And obviously Sawyer did that the other day in the overtime. So it's just a matter of staying with your mark and really trying to deny them the ball as much you can, or when they do get the ball, get right up on top of them, make life a little bit more uncomfortable than they're used to, and go from there.
Well, it's interesting. Both the women and the men played St. Mary's at home last week at the end of the regular season. For the women, it's not a direct rematch since they had the trip to Frostburg in between, but for the men it is. And they were upset a little bit in the home finale last week. It was an upset. St. Mary's winning 2-0 in the regular season finale, and now here they go, hosting them coming up on Wednesday in a rematch of that one, 2:30 on Wednesday over at York College. So, you're coming off playing that opponent a week ago, and you've had an entire week to work on. Well, I guess you didn't know until this weekend who you were going to play. But
last week was weird.
I know it was a weird game.
It was even before the game. The conference announced on Tuesday that Frostburg had to forfeit 3 games, which affected the standings. We got jumped by Salisbury. So the Spartans were actually the number 1 heading into the St. Mary's game prior to on Tuesday. We were the number 1 seed in the tournament if we had won. Salisbury had tied Wesley. Well, that tie was erased and a victory was awarded to Salisbury because of the use of the illegal player by Frostburg. So all of a sudden, Salisbury jumps up over us. Well, not only does Salisbury jump over us, St. Mary's goes from not being in the tournament, regardless of what happened against us, to playing for a chance to get in. So the game was very obvious that they had something to play for. Tip your hat to them. They played better than we did. They just flat out played better than we did. They wanted it more. You could just see it. And they're obviously a dangerous team offensively. So they played great. They played really, really well. Their 2 goals were quality goals. They did a great job. I'm not sure that that's not a good thing for us because all of a sudden, instead of coming in on a roll, we had won 6 straight going into that game. All of a sudden, instead of feeling confident I shouldn't say feeling confident, but feeling maybe a little bit too big for our britches, we got knocked down a peg. And don't think that Coach Sheffy hasn't used that during the week to get these guys ready. So I think actually that loss, if you can have a good loss, was not a bad loss at all. Because once Salisbury leapfrogged us because of the forfeit, and they won ahead of us, they were going to be the number 1 seed. There was nothing we could do. So basically we just needed to hang on to that 2 seed, which we did, that allowed us to get the bye this weekend and then get an opportunity to play on Wednesday. I would be stunned. I don't know what the score is going to be, but I'd be stunned if we didn't play really well on Wednesday. Stunned.
Nah, the point about it potentially being a good loss, it makes total sense. And it was a 6-game winning streak that was snapped. It was a 17-game head-to-head winning streak against St. Mary's that was snapped. So the Spartans have had a tremendous run of success against them. And now the sole goal is what happens on Wednesday and getting back into the win column.
Survive in advance. That's all you got to do. Survive in advance.
But that's coming up Wednesday at 2:30 at home against St. Mary's. The women, as we said, are on the road at St. Mary's tomorrow at 2:30. Field hockey's on the road on Wednesday at Mary Washington, but we do have that home meet for you Spartan fans, or not meet, but that home match, men's soccer on Wednesday for those of you looking to come out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 72 degrees on
beautiful
on November 4th. I'm not sure what more you could ask for from that, but it's going to be a gorgeous day outside. I think we're going to have a really good crowd, and I think it's going to be a great game. So, I think it's going to be probably more offensively oriented than some of our games this year. I think there's going to be some goals scored, and certainly 2 teams that will go at it and play very hard.
Well, we had the cross-country championships over the weekend as well. Spartans fared pretty well there, individually and as a team, and we'll get into that coming up in our next segment. Wrestling also had a very unique opportunity this past weekend, and we'll delve into that also. Basketball previews still to come on this show. We're getting close to tip-off, and as we wrap up our soccer segment of the program, our best of luck to both teams as their playoff runs continue this week. You're listening to Your College Spartan Sports Weekly. We'll be back with more right after this.
Turn this on.
The Rich Eisen Show.
He is unbelievable.
Rich Eisen.
Let's go to the phone lines. They are lit. Catherine in South Carolina. Can I help you?
Yes, I am having emotional distress.
Don't.
I'm going to sue the Jones family.
Don't.
This is crazy. It's the most stupid, idiotic thing. The Jones are screwing this up. And I am sick. I've left work. I'm nauseous. He's strung us out on DeMarco.
Well, what about the idea that anybody could run behind that offensive line? Catherine, you don't buy that one?
DeMarco is family. He and Tony and Jason do everything together. He's family. I just started to be a Cowboys fan again, and happiness has just plunged to despair. What the Jones has done to my emotional state, they should be sued.
Don't go litigious on me here, okay?
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. York Revolution Baseball plays here. Catch all 140 games of accurate reporting.
Actually, is that Travis Scott behind the plate now?
It's been Travis Scott behind the plate all night.
Are you serious? Not on the lineup sheet, it's not.
Unbiased observation.
Oh, there's a big flash.
Well, they just stand there.
Yeah.
Not the player, to be honest.
Maybe they can't see that either.
And mature professional commentary.
It's nice to have you back, Ray. You were away, yesterday. Now whines, in the pitch. It is outside. Who's listening in the clubhouse tonight,
My money's on Rami Lewis,
Okay. can't do it anymore.
Revs Baseball, all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. We're Screamin' Green. How about you? The York College Spartans are on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Spartan Sports Weekly. Once again tonight, we take you up to Sixers basketball here on the station.
Cavs basketball.
Whatever, Scott. What do you think the Sixers' chances are of picking up their first win on WOYK tonight?
5%. If LeBron gets hurt, jumps up to
take the under.
12%.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fun addition to the station as they will grow on WOYK. And Scott, it's on to something that I'm terrible at: cross country.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? The two teams had great weekends. Both the men's and the women's teams finished second at the CAC championships behind Christopher Newport. The men's team accumulated 48 points as part of the championship result, and sophomore Grant Dell had a great weekend as he finished second for the men. As soon as I can pull this up here, the internet a little slow today.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Well, it's usually your fault, but we're gonna go with that. But Grant Dell covered the course in 25:26.2 as he was joined by Alex Smith, who finished 5th, Matthew Hayes, who finished 8th, and Andy McGibbon finished 13th for the Spartan. Brandon Tockett, a freshman who we really haven't talked about a whole lot this year, had a great race as he finished 17th. Ryan Ogg was at 22nd, and Christopher Sander rounded out the top 7. He was 24th. So the Spartans really had a really strong weekend for the men. They'll now head to regionals where he'll take 7 guys with the opportunity to run to earn a berth in the NCAA Division III National Championships the following week. So you never know. Grant's been running really well. If he can put together another race, maybe he has an opportunity to contend for a berth in the national championship. Go ahead.
I was just going to, the men, two runners are first team all conference, 2 are second team. The team finishes 2nd out of 9 at the championships. Is that exactly what Coach was expecting?
That's he said we pretty much finished exactly where we thought. He said it was we're going to have a lot of things go right for us to win the championship, but certainly he was happy with the guys' performance and their finish overall. And really, the great thing about this for us is everybody's coming back. Most of the key runners next year return, as this team is very, very young. He's assembled quite a load of talent with that cross-country program, and that will also carry over, obviously, to track and field. But this is a strong group of competitors who I think, next year, look out, I think they're going to have an opportunity to contend for a CAC championship. And obviously they contended this year, but Christopher Newport, a very experienced team, fended them off and won the championship. On the women's side, the Spartans also finished second, 48 points, as they had a number of strong performances, led by Alicia Dillman, as she picked up the victory overall. She finished first for the Spartans, and that's back-to-back years that York has had the top finisher. She finished at 22:42, winning the race by over 20 seconds over a pair of Christopher Newport runners. Jessica Delvisio finished 4th, a great showing for the freshman as she was the top rookie finisher in the conference. Kathleen Cannon finished 9th. Jenna Roberts, senior, finished 14th as she earned all conference again this year. And then Elena DeBruin finished 20th for York, and Casey Fogelsanger finished 25th. So a very strong performance by the green and white. If you look at the scores, Christopher Newport 25, York 48, Mary Washington way behind at 89. So the Spartans solidly in second and not that far away from what Christopher Newport was able to do. Christopher Newport did a great job of bunching. They had 5 of their top kids in the top 8. So that's kind of hard to overcome because that's really good pack running by them. So they picked up the championships. Much like the men, the women will head to the Mideast Regionals this week. And, be interested to see if Alicia can put together another great race and have the opportunity to earn a bid at Nationals.
Well, and like you mentioned on the men's side, everybody's coming back. On the women's side, the top 3 finishers for York that you mentioned are all due to come back as well, including the CAC Rookie of the Year and Del Vicio. So is Coach Lobo as excited about the future of the women's side?
I think so. And this is a big year. We had to replace 2 of the greatest all-time runners in York College history, and Jess and wow, I completely blanked there for a second. But when you have to replace 2 great runners like that, it's really hard. Jess and Caroline were so much a part of what we did in terms of the last 4 years. Both great competitors, both multiple all-time all-conference players, and of course Jess earned a trip to the Nationals last year. So those 2 were pretty fantastic, and to replace them and finish second, I think is a great credit to the kids left, and also allowed a sense of optimism of this team moving forward that is pretty exciting.
Yeah, Carolyn was an individual champ 2 years ago. I wonder if with those 2 graduating last year, I wonder if anybody really expected, and no slight to Alicia Dillman, but I wonder if anybody expected to have another individual champion this soon.
Well, and Alicia, she was banged up last year. She was injured. It kind of took her all cross-country season last year and then all outdoor to really kind of get back on track. In fact, she finished second in the 10,000 at CACs last year in the championship. So she was kind of primed and ready to go, and she's certainly a kid who not a lot of people probably knew about just because of the injuries from last year, but she certainly was fantastic on Saturday when she needed to be.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to her and to both teams. Outstanding showing. And like you said, Scott, next up for them is the regionals, a couple of weekends away in Carlisle. Now, wrestling over the weekend, Scott, this was interesting. This popped up on the schedule, a trip to Annapolis to take on Navy. Where did this come from? How'd that come about?
I got an email on Thursday. Hey, by the way, we're going to Navy this weekend. Originally, our schedule was not supposed to open up until next week at the King's College Monarch Classic. But we had the opportunity to fill in. I think it was Stevens Tech maybe, or Stevens, one of those teams was unable to come down. So Navy had given Dwayne a call, and Coach Baster said, "Sure, we'll come down and play." It was one of those situations where our guys had just weighed in for inter-squad green and white, so they had to make way in again. They dropped a 39-0 decision to Navy Blue, which is their top flight varsity, and then lost 32-12 against Navy Gold. But great experience for the guys to get to wrestle against the quality Division I program. In the Navy Gold match, Tom Gattinella got a tech fall to start it off at 125, and then national qualifier Ryan Flynn got on the board with a 9-0 major decision, and then Mike Spencer picked up a win at heavyweight. So not all was lost. This weekend, I think Coach Baster still sees this as the opening weekend with the trip to the Monarch Classic at King's College. So, I think it was a good opportunity to get guys, get some feet wet and see how they did against really high caliber competition.
Yeah, that was that popped up out of nowhere, sort of, but that's definitely. I mean, if you have a chance to get experience like that,
I think it's a great experience. Get to go down to the Naval Academy. I mean, one of the most beautiful areas in the country down in Annapolis, and I think it was great for our guys to get that opportunity.
I wonder if they have trains right outside their recording studio, or if that's just here.
I think it's just here.
Yeah, I don't know if our listeners can hear that, but
I don't know how they couldn't.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how they couldn't hear that.
These high-powered mics. Well, volleyball also, Scott, they wrapped up their season over the weekend. The Spartans split on Saturday, lost to Salisbury, but beat Lycoming, a team that finished with a winning record, and they took it to Lycoming pretty well, winning 3-1. They came back in all three of their winning sets in that contest. And we had a few volleyballers finish up there on the all-time career list at York College as well. Catherine Graziano closed her career third all-time in digs. Allison Dorsey sixth in blocks. And that was a program obviously under new leadership that's transitioning toward the future as well. And they get to head into the off-season by winning their final match.
It's a strange refrain. I'm sure people are probably sick of hearing me say this, but a team that was unbelievably young as well. The three seniors, there are a number of freshmen who played key roles this year. junior setter Sarah Wukic is one of the more experienced kids coming back. But you had Brooke Krebs, a freshman from New Oxford. You had Aaron Brady, a freshman from Upper Marion High School by Philly. Heather Sechrist from Spring Grove. Lindsay Altland from Spring Grove. There's a group of kids, a group of young kids that this is going to give a great core to the Spartan program. Coach Bonnets did a great job. Probably a lot of people out there know him from his time as the boys coach at Susquehannock, but does a really good job with the team. I think that this is going to be a huge recruiting year for us to continue to get better and continue to fill in some of those pieces that we need. But all in all, they finished 13-18. A lot of close losses early in the year. It seems like we really were snake bitten and couldn't get a break, but played much better as the year went along and were more consistent. We're still a little bit of ways away from the top echelon in the conference, but that gap is starting to close, and I think this young group of players will kind of help us achieve that and really reach the goals that the coaching staff has set for this group. And I think they have an opportunity as we go forward to continue to get better and continue to elevate the quality of the roster and continue to compete with the teams that are, quite frankly, at the top of our conference. They're really good. Christopher Newport's 5th in the country. Salisbury, always ranked. Mary Washington, always ranked, lately. So it makes life a little bit tougher when you're playing teams in that caliber in your conference. But, what do they say? Rising tides raise all ships. So if you're playing at a good conference, it's going to help you get better too.
Yep, definitely. Well, and, that sport wrapping up its season with a win, fortunately, and a lot of our other fall sports, as we've detailed on this program, right in the thick of postseason play this week. Coming up, though, on our final segment of the show, we will preview the start of the winter sports season and the basketball teams. Both coaches will join us on this program. Less than 2 weeks away from the seasons tipping off, both the women and the men. And we'll dive straight into that coming up. You're listening to Your College Spartan Sports Weekly right here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY, and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
He's a great man. Was Muhammad Ali a thug? He was colorful, controversial. But this is a guy who did something before anybody else did it. And we were okay with it. A lot of us were okay because of how Ali looked. Handsome, well-spoken, the poetry. There was charisma to it. Richard Sherman just came out of a game and started yelling right in our face.
Dan Patrick.
On Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Previously on the York Revolution pregame show.
Everett George is our interview guest. Everett was signed up. Was it the whole homestand?
Yeah, the whole homestand.
And which was how many games?
7 games.
And you lasted in your role how many games?
1 game.
Have you been fired anywhere before?
Never. Post-game meal came down, and it was pulled pork and beans. I said, well, where's the buns? Where's the soda? Where's the water? And the coleslaw didn't come down till after everything was out. But I know what I can do. I can make a meal better with pulled pork, with beans. That's the reason I got fired, because I asked too many questions, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they did me a favor. I don't have to. I can have 6 days off.
Rebs Baseball on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Here in a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your home for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
program will sound a lot like our pregame shows in a couple of weeks. Both coaches are on, Betsy Whitman and Matt Hunter, as we get set for tip-off, Scott, coming up soon.
It's hard to believe. Where did that come from? It's like all of a sudden, boom, it's basketball season. So, but of course, I enjoy the winter season very much. So looking forward to getting the opportunity to talk some hoops. And certainly I know the two coaches are very excited about their teams and looking forward to getting the opportunity to get it off and tip it off.
Well, Friday, November 13th, Friday the 13th,
yeah.
The men open up at Stevenson. And then Saturday the 14th, the women open up at Arcadia. I'm sure we'll have a high school football playoff game on Friday the 13th, but you can find the game on WOYK1350.com, YCPSpartans.com. The women's game on the 14th we'll have on radio as well. And then the home opener is that Monday.
2 weeks from tonight.
Just a couple of days later, the men against Gettysburg.
Yeah, 2 weeks from tonight.
2 weeks from tonight.
Which is hard to believe. So, but we'll be ready. I know, one of the things I talked to about with each coach was, what do you need to do between now and then? And the number one thing seemed to be stay healthy. Stay healthy. So, and refine some things and get ready. They both had scrimmages this week. Both had positive results to that. So, I think they're both excited and ready to go.
Always start off on the ladies' side with Betsy Whitman, who joined Scott earlier today.
Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Got a chance to see your team against another team this week at a scrimmage at Stevenson this week. How's the team look so far?
Well, after 2 weeks of practice, I think we did pretty well at the scrimmage. So I was happy with what I saw on Saturday.
A big squad this year, 19 kids. Is it going to be tough sorting out playing time for all these kids, all these talented kids?
Yeah, I mean, having 19 kids is certainly more than I typically carry, although the last couple years I've had larger squads. But, I think we've zeroed in on probably our top 12, 13 kids at this point, which is better than last year where we really had no idea who was going to be on the floor. I think we have a number of experienced players back, and they certainly are doing what I expect of them and look good in the preseason. We have a couple kids who were injured last year who are back and are doing a great job. So with 6 freshmen, certainly there's a lot of new kids that are going to need some time to learn our system, but are very talented. And, we have a lot of returners from last year, so we just ended up with a large squad of 19.
Who are some of the people that have impressed you so far during practice?
Well, our returners, I think, look good. The kids who played last year, Brianna Bishey at the point, and Katie Wagner, Sarah Shearer, Sam Ruse, Morgan Golick. Those kids played a lot of minutes last year, and I think they look very solid. And Carla McFatridge, who's back from her ACL injury last year, really looks great at the 2-guard spot in both the inner squad and actually on Saturday. I think she looked very solid on both ends of the floor, and we'll see a lot of playing time this year. So, Beth Wisely is still battling some injuries, so we really haven't been able to see her play a whole lot, but I think, she's going to be in our rotation. Delita Kamzik has come back an improved player, and we're hoping she's going to be able to give us some good minutes in the post. Morgan Keeney is probably one of our most improved players, and she really, I thought, played well last year in a lot of the games that we played, and she came back in great shape and looked great in the inner squad in particular.
A lot of local flavor on this team this year, more so than we've probably had in a lot of years. Mm-hmm. Do you find that kind of ebbs and flows as the talent in York County kind of, goes back and forth? It seems like there's a lot of talented players coming out of the league this year, and we've captured a lot of those kids.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to the last couple of years to get some of the better players in York County and Adams County area. We have 2 players from Dallastown that are freshmen, Katie McGowan and Debria Hendricks, and I think both of them could be great players for us down the road. And obviously we have Sarah Shearer from West York and Katie Wagner from Susquehannock, and I think, those 2 players were 2 of the premier players in the league a couple years ago. So, we've been very fortunate. Logan Fuller played for York Country Day. She's another freshman who I think could have a great career for us. But I think just the last couple of years, some of the local players are seeing that we've had a lot of success here and are choosing to stick around. Maybe they're close with their families and, want them to come see them play. And York College is a great venue to come and watch games. And so we've been very fortunate. I'd like to keep a few more of them around, but, sometimes they go away and they come back as well. Look at Carly McFatridge. She went away to Juniata a couple years ago and came right back to York. And, we're certainly glad that she did.
All right, I think we have 12 days until you tip it off at Arcadia. What are the things that you want to see this team do over those next 12 days to prepare for the season?
Well, we've thrown an awful lot of information at them, in the last 2 weeks, and really we're just trying to clean everything up at this point. Maybe put in a couple more plays, out-of-bounds plays, and quick hitters. We need to do a little more work with zone. But, I think it's just continue to condition and continue to clean some things up on the offensive end and just focus on, all the fundamental things that we need to do well this year.
All right, thanks a lot. I'm sure we'll talk to you again before the season gets started, but good luck. Stay healthy, most importantly.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing the team on the 14th.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, Scott. Excited. Looking forward to it. Big roster, too, man.
Big roster.
But
yeah, I think that's going to – and actually I think that's going to be one of the things that will be the challenge this year is just finding the right combinations. I think they're really talented. I think they're as talented as, from a top to bottom roster situation. Obviously, when we had Kristen and Brittany and Kelsey and Asia, the talent level with those four alone were great, but our depth of roster was not fantastic. This roster, while it doesn't have that group of quote-unquote superstars at the top, it is very deep, and a lot of kids came back in fantastic shape. If you look at Morgan Golick, I mean, she's in great shape. She's strong, running the floor great. Morgan Keeney looks fantastic. She's been playing great. Carly McFatridge coming back from the ACL injury, playing with a ton of confidence, shooting the ball great right now. So I think there's a lot of potential with this group, and I think it's just a matter of finding out that right combination, who plays well together, who plays well doing what. And I think some of the freshmen are eventually going to play. I think there's some kids within that class that have an opportunity to be contributors this year. Maybe not a ton, but at least get their feet wet and get a chance to play a little bit. So it's going to be very interesting how this season works out because the talent is there. It's a matter of staying healthy and finding that rotation and kind of going from there. But Coach Whitman obviously has proven she knows what she's doing, so it should be a lot of fun on the hardwood for the women this year.
Well, and you also had a chance to catch up with Matt Hunter on a men's preview earlier today, and here's what Coach Hunter had to say about his group.
Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Hard to believe it's time to start talking basketball already. It seems like we were just immersed in golf season. Now you get to go to your favorite time of year. You guys have been in practice for about 2 weeks. How are things going so far?
Things are going really well. We kind of just continue to build and develop. Our culture is really, really strong, and I'm really excited with, kind of what's been happening.
This team's been together for a while now. The core of this team, this is year number 3. Are things different during preseason, the way you handle things?
I think we certainly have some guys that have been here. We still have 10 freshmen and sophomores. So, a sophomore is a seasoned veteran in our program at this point. So it is nice to have some guys that are back and know what to expect. And you have Chris and Dalton and Brad who have been through it for 3 years together, basically. So they kind of know what to expect, and we're doing a lot of similar stuff to how we finished last year. So there's some continuity that way, and that's really the first time we've had any kind of continuity. So it does allow us to move a little quicker.
How's the leadership been so far during the preseason?
Yeah, it's been great. Chris Conway has been fantastic, and he kind of filters down, and he has his guys that work with him, and I'm really happy. Again, the culture of our team, the leadership of our team, all that stuff is tremendously strong.
You got a chance to see your team against somebody else last weekend at Rosemont. How did everything go with the scrimmage?
Yeah, it was good. Bus ride took a little longer than we wanted to, but once we kind of got loose and get going, I was pleased. It's a scrimmage. I'm a coach, so nothing was good enough. But it was a positive step. It was something we needed to do. It was good to play against a completely different kind of defense and see how we reacted to that and what we need to start cleaning up here as we get ready for another scrimmage.
2 weeks from today, we open up at home. We open up on the 13th at Stevenson, but home opener on the 16th. What do you have to do now between now and then to kind of get yourself fully ready to go?
Yeah, we just kind of got to keep working the process here. You know, we have a good amount of stuff in. There's some stuff that needs to be added on both sides of the ball. And just trying to, you know, speed up learning curves for some guys and keep competing and getting better and focused on getting better each day between now and then. So when it does come time to challenge ourselves against a different color, you know, we can put our best foot forward.
All right, Coach, good luck. I'm sure we'll talk to you before the season starts again. Good luck during the rest of preseason, and most importantly, stay healthy, right?
Yeah, that's the number one goal this time of year. Thank you.
All right, that is head coach Matt Hunter. Scott, we're excited to see that team as well. I know he's high on the recruits, he's high on the development, and for the last 2 years, I mean, 3 years, they've been really undermanned. I mean, it's been a significant building of the program, and I know he's thrilled with the direction it's heading.
You know, the one thing he talks about a lot when we talk is culture and having kids that have bought into the program and do things the right way and represent the college in the way that it should be represented. This is a great group of guys. We actually did our team photos the other day, and it's a funny group of kids. They're very entertaining, and you know, I think they feel comfortable around each other. I think they play hard for each other. They play together, which is what we're going to have to do. We're not going to have the greatest athletes when we line up against other teams, but what we will have is a really good team of guys who play together and are complementary to each other's games. And you know, I think you're going to see a situation where, you know, it could be a different guy each night. You know, there's not one guy. I think obviously Dalton Myers is really good, but there's some other guys, you know, Mike Duffy, Brad Wesner, Zach Galick, who can be guys who step up on any given night and perform and be able to lead this team to victory.
Scamuffo can get hot.
Yeah, Matt's a kid who can just fill it up. I mean, he can shoot it great, and you know, and Chris Conway just has done a good job leading this group. He's obviously the most experienced kid. He's grown into his role as a guy who he plays so hard, and I think that is a credit not only to him but the coaching staff. And guys just play hard, and I think that anytime you do that, you know, I think the things you control as a coaching staff are how prepared is your team? You know, do they know what the other team's trying to do, and how well are they prepared to run their own stuff? And then effort. And I think our guys give great effort, and I think they play hard, and I think they put themselves in position to contend each and every night. And I think that'll really shine through this year.
Well, we'll be out there soon, and we'll have it for you right here on the station. Again, the men open up Friday the 13th at Stevenson, the women the following night, Saturday the 14th at Arcadia. The best part of 2 weeks of practices still ahead of them, but it's a little less than that. It's just about here. So, Scott, best of luck to all of the teams in playoff games this week. Again, the home contest is Wednesday for men's soccer at 2:30 against St. Mary's. The women's team will be on the road Tuesday at St. Mary's. Field hockey's on the road Wednesday at Mary Washington. But looking forward to a big week with big matchups.
Yeah, it could be a fun next week if we can pull out a couple conference titles or make a couple championship game appearances. That would be a huge step for each of these programs. So it should be interesting to see what we'll have. We'll find out 7 days from now.
We'll be back next Monday at 6 to talk about all of it. Enjoy your week, Scott. Coming up,
thank you, Darrell.
A big for you Cavaliers matchup.
Sure.
Sixers basketball coming up on the station. Scott is our resident Cleveland fan in York, the only one.
There might be one or two more.
We're
not quite sure.
All right.
Not quite sure.
Well, Sixers basketball is coming up next. Stay tuned for that. Sixers and the Cavs right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Thanks for tuning in to York College Spartan Sports Weekly. We'll talk to you next week.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, York.